The Democratic primary for Ohio's 11th district is tomorrow. TYT will be doing special coverage of that primary. And of course, progressive Nina Turner is facing off against the corporate Democrat in that race, Shontel Brown. And this is an incredibly important election. It's so important to support Nina Turner. If you happen to be a voter in that district, please cast your ballot for Nina. Now, I share this story with you, unfortunately, with a negative component to it, and that is this full-on attack by individuals on YouTube, on Patreon, presenting themselves as part of the left while simultaneously viciously attacking both the squad, but more importantly, people like Nina Turner, who hasn't had an opportunity to serve in Congress yet. You know, she was a state senator in Ohio. She's an incredibly strong fighter for Medicare for all of the agenda items that progressive voters have. And unfortunately, people like Jimmy Dore and his wife have been lying about Nina Turner and also discouraging members of their audience from supporting her. So with that said, let's go to this video featuring Jimmy Dore's wife, Stephanie.
Nina Turner is against force the vote. She gave a bad faith answer on Bad Faith Podcast. That's when I stopped my monthly donation, Jerry Mack. You know how I feel, Jerry. I'm right there with you. I'm not giving my money to somebody who's running in the Democratic Party. I'm not giving my money to somebody who runs in the Republican Party. I'm not giving them my money. Come get my vote. Come get my vote. And you know how you're going to get support? Universal health care. For my brothers and sisters in America, universal health care.
So there's Stephanie, leaning into an incredibly irrelevant tactic and strategy that wouldn't have gotten the American people Medicare for all. It was largely meant to be a show of political theater to see which Democratic lawmakers vote against Medicare for all. The whole point of Force the Vote was to hold Nancy Pelosi's speakership hostage until she promised to hold a floor vote on Medicare for all, which of course would have failed on the House floor and it wouldn't have accomplished anything. Now, I haven't seen Nina Turner even weigh in on that, but it doesn't matter. This is the tactic that people like Jimmy Dore and his wife have decided to latch onto. They think that it makes them heroes to be pushing a tactic that would have failed anyway. And now they're using this tactic as some sort of litmus test as to whether or not you should support progressive members of Congress, or in this case, support someone like Nina Turner, who is a fighter for Medicare for all. She was a surrogate for Bernie Sanders in both the elections. But of course, Bernie Sanders didn't go on Jimmy Dore's show, so he's super salty about that and has been on the warpath against Bernie and other progressive lawmakers ever since. But I share this with you guys, we share this with you guys, because it's important to know who the hucksters are and who the genuine fighters for change in this country are. And I think that these types of situations make it abundantly clear that people like Jimmy Dore and his wife are not to be trusted, period.
So we'll get to Steph's political contributions and whether it's true that she doesn't give to Democrats or Republicans in a second. But first she said, well, I'm not gonna do it unless we get universal health care. Nina Turner is the biggest fighter for universal health care. In fact, I know that polling shows that the phrase Medicare for all, because of all the damage that the corporate media and corporate Democrats put on it, doesn't poll as well as universal health care. And Nina knows that, but she advocates for Medicare for all, even in her ads anyway, because she's gung-ho and she's diehard. And that's exactly why healthcare industries, drug companies, oil companies, just about every corporate lobbyist in Washington has piled into this race against Nina Turner. The establishment thinks she's the biggest threat they have seen in a long, long time. That is part of the reason why we tell you to support Nina Turner, because she's a real progressive. It doesn't get any more real than Nina Turner, right? But to be fair, she didn't go along with Jimmy Dore's dumbass strategy.
Right.
Oh, I see. Who cares about Medicare for all? Did you show fealty to Jimmy Dore and Steph? Why would that matter? Guys, here I'll give you an example. You know, Just Democrats had a situation with me. I founded the group, and then a couple of people in that group put out a terrible statement that made it seem like I was getting kicked out when I had already left, and the board knew that, right? So that's okay. What did I do? If I was them, I would have been like, oh, my ego is hurt. That's it. I hate the Justice Democrats. Destroy the Justice Democrats. Destroy them, right? No, what did I do? You guys saw it all with your own eyes. I came out and said, support the candidates anyway, because the candidates didn't do this, and they're going to be real progressives, and they're uncorrupted. They're not taking any corporate PAC money. And look at them now. Cori Bush is out there sleeping on the street to help the people who are going to get evicted because of the moratorium issue. She's leading on that. On qualified immunity, Cori Bush and other progressives are leading. Now AOC is saying, no, you're not gonna pass that bipartisan infrastructure bill unless you pass the bigger one, the progressive one. They're using their leverage and their power. By the way, when they don't, like on the $15 minimum wage, we called them out, right? And when they didn't come on our show after that, did we cry about it? No, we told you when they were wrong and we told you when they were right, because it isn't about us. But for them, oh, well, you didn't agree to this particular strategy where we had no backup plan. We didn't know who we would vote for if it's not Nancy Pelosi. But what do you need, a strategy? You don't need a strategy. All right, I demand, if we just decide between Coke and Pepsi, we'll magically get Medicare for all. Force the Coke, force the Coke. Oh, Nina Turner doesn't want to force the Coke. Okay, oh my God, that's it, we hate Nina Turner. Now, by the way, that might be part of the answer. Or it might be part of the answer, and maybe it's both, is, well, if you look at their content, they spend almost all of their time attacking progressives.
And also attacking us. I mean, while we're doing stories about asset recycling, which was part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which would have privatized public infrastructure, they were doing videos about us. So, okay, nonstop. So while they obsess about us and while they obsess about attacking progressive lawmakers who are our best bet in getting something done in Congress, okay? You have people like Nina Turner out there fighting, getting attacked by corporate Democrats, and are they helping Nina Turner? No. In fact, they're discouraging people from supporting Nina Turner and also taking to the streets and offering up these unhinged threats to members of the squad. Recently, there was a Medicare for All march. It was nationwide. I think marches like that are wonderful. I think that kind of action is important to show the popularity of Medicare for All. The only thing that's unfortunate is you have people like Jimmy Dore serving as keynote speakers, which discourages people from wanting to take part in these efforts, which is why I think the progressive movement and leftists should be abundantly clear about who their allies are, who they're willing to fight alongside with, because otherwise you're gonna get garbage like this during keynote speeches.
Medicare for all, Medicare now, no more waiting, put pressure on politicians, make them scared of you, make them scared to death of you. The politicians, let's go to their houses.
Make them scared to death of you, let's go to their houses. Now keep in mind that Jimmy Dore doesn't believe that anyone within the Democratic Party is ever gonna do anything good for the progressive movement. He doesn't believe that a single one of them is actually gonna fight for Medicare for all. If he genuinely believes it, then what's the point of encouraging people to show up to their houses to make them scared to death of you?
Well, I mean, look at this. Cori Bush is the one person who actually did go to those marches.
Right.
Now, look.
And then they attacked her.
I wish those marches were more constructive. I think that a lot of people who went had good intent.
Absolutely.
And we all desperately want Medicare for all, and we want it as quickly as possible. That's why we're supporting Nina Turner, who's the biggest advocate for Medicare for all. For God's sake, be constructive. Cori Bush still goes out of her way to attend the rallies anyway. And when she's out there in the street fighting for people who are gonna get thrown out of their homes, the Jimmy Dore trolls and acolytes go over there and hound her about, well, you didn't do what we wanted on Force the Vote. The reason I do the Coke and Pepsi example is because it's absurd. They didn't even have an alternative to Nancy Pelosi. They're like, I don't know, who cares? Vote for anyone else. Now, it's interesting, right? So they're good at destroying, they're good at threatening, and they say, oh, make them scared, etc. But how are you gonna pass Medicare for all if you don't have fighters like Nina Turner in the House? How are you gonna pass things if when Cori Bush does the right things, AOC does the right things, you don't use your mind and go, oh, I didn't like what you did on $15 minimum wage, but I love what you're doing on the eviction moratorium. I love that you attended the rally. No. For Jimmy, that's not the question. The only question is, did they come on his show or did they not come on his show? Yeah. Did they kiss his ring or did they not kiss his ring? Because this isn't about Medicare for all. It certainly isn't about you. No, it's about Jimmy and his goddamn ego. So tear down everything. But there is one exception to that. If you notice, they almost never attack Trump and the Republicans.
Never.
And they have 1,000 excuses. Oh, no, well, no, because Trump's not in office anymore. Well, the entire Republican Party listens to Trump and they do exactly what he tells them to do. It's obvious, and they're going down to, he reformed his cabinet, etc.
What about when he was in office for 4 years straight?
Yeah, and how about when he was in office? No, there's an excuse for not criticizing Republicans or Trump or anything like that. But let's tear down Nina Turner? Are you insane? No, it's absolute destruction.
Jimmy Dore supported Tulsi Gabbard during the last Democratic primary election. And Tulsi Gabbard was not in favor of Medicare for all. In fact, she abandoned Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders, of course, it was the champion for Medicare for all, and he continues to push for it. But why is it that Jimmy Dore, who purports to be such a strong supporter of Medicare for all, decided to abandon Bernie to endorse Tulsi Gabbard? I wonder, maybe we should watch this next video and it can give us a little bit of an answer.
We've been trying to get Bernie Sanders on the show. He's not coming on my show. Bernie Sanders won't come on this show. He's making it as hard as possible. Bernie's definitely ducking the show on purpose. He's not coming on this show. He's not coming. He is not coming on. He's ducking the show. Here I am, a guy who went to Iowa to cover his campaign, who went to Las Vegas to cover the debacle that was that primary. There's a guy who traveled all over this state when he was here covering him, and he won't come on our show. They're ducking our show officially. They won't come on. Bernie won't even come on the show. He won't come on the show. He won't come on the show. He won't come on the show. They won't come on the show. And they're doing it in one of the most insulting ways possible.
Just an absolute child, all about ego, all about his precious little feelings. And I'm sure he's watching this, and I'm sure he's screaming at the TV, screaming at the computer, probably screaming at his wife as well, because he's been real good at doing that, both on his own show and when he worked here in the studio. He is not a person who's trying to lead anyone to victory other than himself and his own profit motive, and it's very clear. His ego gets hurt very easily, and the fact that he's been a wrecking ball to progressives, and especially people like Nina Turner, who's been a fighter for Medicare for all, tells you everything you need to know about him, period. Him and his clan. And one other thing I want to just note, FEC filings indicate that Stephanie, his wife, I don't see any donations under her name for people like Nina Turner. She said that she stopped donating, right? But one of the recent donations, according to FEC filings, under her name, under the address that she lived in, indicates that she donated $1,000 to Nina Becker for Arizona, the Republican candidate who was running against the incumbent Democrat, Ruben Gallego, who's part of the Medicare for All caucus. Now, she denies that she made that donation. But if you look at the entirety of her record showing where her donations have gone throughout the last few years, oh, look at that, Tulsi Aloha, Tulsi Aloha, Tulsi Aloha. You see all those donations for Tulsi Gabbard, who of course they were incredibly supportive of. At the very end in 2018, you see a donation to the tune of $1,000 for Tim Canova. Tim Canova, who's now a Republican and supports Donald Trump, at the time was running to unseat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And if you know anything about Jimmy Dore, he has an obsession with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and wanting to oust her from office. So I don't know. She says no, someone else made a $1,000 donation to a Republican under my name, as if Stephanie is like some household name and people have $1,000 to slang around in her honor. But she denies it. I don't believe it.
Okay, by the way, on that Becker's contributions, we're perfectly aware that there's some absurd names on there. That's why we double check with Steph's contributions. And you see Canova, you see Tulsi, and you see her actual contributions, and they were huge fans of Canova and Tulsi, so that is not at all surprising. And so apparently they don't mind giving to Republicans. So that's an interesting note as well. And so, look, guys, we did this segment. We've done like maybe one a month or so, because they do one nonstop lies about us, and then people say, "Oh, you guys are involved in a fight with them."
This isn't about us.
No,
this is about politics, and this is about what they're doing and leading people in the wrong direction purposely.
We do 10 stories a day having nothing to do with them. They do about 10 stories a day about us having to do nothing with what's going to actually affect your life. And it's an easy scam to run. Pretend you're the only one who's holy enough, I'm the one who wants Medicare for all, and anyone who doesn't do any strategy I come up with is against Medicare for all. But wait a minute, everyone on earth knows Nina Turner is for Medicare for all, and she's the biggest fighter for Medicare for all. But no, she didn't do my strategy. And by the way, guys, that's part of the grift. No one is ever good enough. The only one that's, and Trump does this too, no one on the right wing is ever good enough. Trump is the only one that's pure enough because he actually doesn't do anything, right? And so the same thing, that scam that Dore runs. Oh, well, I demanded everything, and so no one can ever meet my standard. I am holy, Cori Bush isn't. Nina Turner isn't, AOC isn't, no other progressive is. Tear him down, Jimmy says. And if you believe that and you go around tearing down our top allies on issues that make no sense when they're actually fighting for us, unfortunately, you've been led down a very wrong path and a very dark path. And so understand who they actually are. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.